When Dr. Odemenana said that Uyo would make Nigeria read again, I guess it was not quite clear what he meant. Well, now we have an idea the man has a vision to make Nigerians return to books, return to reading, to replace vices with virtues, because it is said that an educated and an informed people is definitely governable. At first, it was the Uyo Bookclub, Uyo, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we give you the Raffia City Book Club, Ikot, Ekpene. The inaugural reading session of the Raffia City Book Club, Ikot, Ekpene, was held on Saturday, 8th May 2021 at the Abom Toniesu residence, Ikot, Ekpene. Please stay tuned for the thoughts and smells that greeted the gathering of this mix of opinion leaders, politicians, and bookworms. The Raffia City Book Club is here.
I'm going to read a story titled Village People. Village People is a short story I wrote in 2018, and it was published in a Botswanan literary magazine called Kalahari Review. So I'm reading straight from that website right now. It's a story about a young graduate who came out from school, and he was looking for a job, and all the odds were stacked against him, and they began to think that, there were forces against his progress, and somehow he managed to move beyond that. The main character is nameless. He is also the narrator, so the story is written in first person. So, Village People. It will take about 20 minutes to read. If I cough or clear my throat, please forgive me. They said village people were responsible for every bad thing that happened to us. They said most problems that city people encountered were masterminded by these village people. They said stars and destinies were often pilfered away by village people. They said village people represented everything that had evil in it. Each time I heard these tales, I wrapped them into fine sheets of garbage, and I cast them into the sea of emptiness. Then one evening, like a sad, endless movie with multiple flashbacks, it became my turn to be haunted by them. So I had this scholarship opportunity that I needed to apply for, but my grip on it weakened, and I lost focus a fortnight before the deadline. When I came to my senses, I had only 4 days left, yet I had to send my application to Australia. Then, like magic, I got all my documents I needed with the speed of a spirit, and I had my application ready in 24 hours. It will get to Australia in 3 days, I reckon. As I proceeded to send the parcel, glitches began winking at me. The National Labour Union announced a warning strike that day. They were protesting some policy review the government was yet to implement. The courier companies were closed. I had 2 telephone lines, and both of them had network connectivity hitches. So neither voice calls nor text messages could go through. I needed to call Jai, my friend that was working with an airline at the international airport, and get him to assist me with finding someone traveling to Australia who could help me send the package to the recipient. Taxi cabs were scarce. The city was under siege. All major roads were barricaded. A frontline political party was having a rally. In some parts of the city, flood from the rain had taken over access roads. But after the excruciating experience, I made it to the airport. With a little effort, Jai found a lady who was willing to take the parcel and promised she would send it via a courier company from Melbourne to Perth. My final task was to get some naira, exchange it for dollars, and then give the money to her to make the transaction possible in Melbourne. Bank automated teller machines in the airport weren't working. The network breakdown seemed to have affected them. Jai had no cash on him. He approached another colleague of his, Jafumi, who had some cash. The plan was that I transfer money to Jafumi's bank account and get the cash equivalent from him.
So, I would love to just say a few things about my book. Not to Save Place is the title of the book, and this book was published in 2017. This book is a collection of 5 short stories that talks about girl-child education, child trafficking, child labor, all the social issues that we have in our society. And the first story in the book is about girl-child education, and the title is To the Moon and Back. In this short story, the mother of Arit fights tooth and nail to make sure that her daughter has education, and this is something that the father was antagonizing. He maintained that girl-child education is a waste. Any girl child that is educated ends up in the kitchen, that they will become too knowledgeable and they will end up becoming a problem to the society. But at the end of the day, the father realized that the girl-child education is not a waste. That the girl-child can actually achieve so much more if given the opportunity to go to school.
So if you don't read, how do you nourish your brain? Because reading is the food of the brain. Reading makes you to exercise the brain. And whoever does not read, what happens is that the brain atrophies. Over time, you become forgetful. You don't remember things again. You become like just any other village person who stays in the village. But if you read, it has a way of transporting you to any location you read about.
It makes me remember Alexander Pope. Carve your name on human stones, and you would have left your footprints on the sands of time. With all these people here, I know that we are not going to die. And the Ikot of Ekpene or Raffia City Bookclub will live on. I want to thank Government Nana for bringing it and for inviting me. One of the oldest politicians in this place, once decided to establish a school. The school is still there. I was a very young boy. I used to travel with him from anywhere down here. So he said, "Man, I want to establish a school, and I want to have the motto of that school. I think you speak English so well you think I'm stupid, because the motto of the school will confound you." I said, "What's the motto of the school?" He said, "To better the best." He said, "English says good, better, best." And that best is maximum. The motto of this school is to better the best. From here, we will better the best. We'll make people read. We'll make people think, not by compulsion, but by interest. So I thank you for sowing these seeds of interest. And I see these young colleagues. Professor Oshie remembered when I once taught him, it's good. The young shall grow. The child is the father of the man.
There is no alternative to reading. When you read, I am proud of one thing. I'm proud of my material poverty. In the sense that it doesn't haunt me. If I trade, and you want to knock me down, I will have the language to ask you why you are doing what you are doing.
So I've been reading, and when I pick up something that will give me joy, is the book I wrote. If I pick it up and start reading, I say, this idea wouldn't have been in this chapter, would have been in this other chapter. Because I'm looking at it more critically. I'm looking at it more maturely. So, Abu, I will partner with you, let me put it in that way, to bring in all this, my old stuff into the library. And it is my prayer that this small library, in time to come, will compete with the Library of Congress. So that you can sit here and say, you want this journal, you call them, the journal will be available. You want this text that is not available in this small library, you call the Congress library, and they will send it to you. I'm happy that this generation, most of them, like Dr. Nanasi, that abandoned academics and they want to be PA for this week. So with this, I ask the people of Ekpene in particular to please avail themselves to this library, and that this library will grow in Jesus' name.
Amen. I like to say, in the words of Francis Bacon, it says, reading makes a full man. I like to encourage us to, all of us here, we are readers, but then let us also do some work. Let's, the young girl on our streets, the young boy on our street, let us encourage them to read, because reading makes a full man. Thank you.
I have found that some of us would have read whether we wanted to read or not. That's because our jobs stand dead as soon as we stop reading. But there are people who don't have to read and they read, and for them I have a lot of respect. It is my pleasure that I am seated among such people this evening. So I thank God for the fact that we have been blessed enough with the skill to read. There's so much that people can take from you. My father used to tell me that even if I leave you material blessings, somebody stronger than you can take them from you. But I want to give you an education that nobody can take from you. And when he died, soon after I graduated, I knew that the man was right in giving me an education which nobody could take from me. And that education has been such that with it, you get such boldness and strength, you even shock yourself when you stand before total strangers, when you compete in climes far away from where you were born, when you attend conferences all over the world, for instance, and you find that you can stand your ground, and you ask yourself, a man from a village like mine that does not appear on the map, a man from a village like mine, which if you try to pronounce, you might cut your teeth or tongue, a man from a village like mine that has never seen any fanciful car, yet, as he said, I can relate with many cities in the world. They sound so familiar that I am convinced that if I were dropped there, I would recognize them. And it is true, simply by reading those stories. First time I was dropped in London, I recognized places and I knew I could tell what they were, even though I had never been there. Same thing with New York, same thing with Paris, anywhere else I've been to. So long as I've read something about it, I found that it tended to be a lot closer to me than I had ever known. So I would like to encourage all of us and to thank the people who have put their resources on the line to ensure that people don't remain blind. Because failing to read is opting to be blind. And it is such a terrible thing that we can be blind yet sighted. And some people who don't have physical sight can see much farther than those who have sight because they have read.
I flew in an aircraft. When we got to the airport, the woman, we were waiting, the protocol delayed a particular governor in the South. The woman who was going to do Omugo, that is taking care of the newborn baby of the daughter, quickly went when there was boarding and went and sat seat number 1, which was meant for the governor. She sat in there, they were waiting for the governor to come in and join the aircraft. And when it was time for the governor to come in, they went and checked the seat. The woman was already seated on the governor's seat. The pilot, the cabin crews, everybody pleaded with the woman to leave the seat and go back to seat number 14, which was her original seat. She said she would not. That the son told him that he paid for the aircraft, that he would not stand up. The flight was delayed for over 30 minutes. And the politician in some of us, we don't ask, why is the flight delayed? He said the woman is sitting where the governor is supposed to sit. I quickly went to the woman and I told the mother, what are you going to? She said she's going to Abuja. I said those who are going to Abuja are sitting from seat number 14 to the other side. But those who are going to Borno State, where Boko Haram is sitting from where you are sitting to this other seat. The woman stood up by In my own opinion, that experience was the experience of conflict management and clear communication. So if the book club indeed wants to follow the trend that our society has witnessed today, we need to communicate, not through compulsion, but through persuasion. We must communicate properly.
As created by God. I may not have been born very long time ago, but I remember having grown in the Raffia city. We had a library. And like some of us that are still growing, when we saw that there was so much work at home, we ran to the library, knowing that when you come back, you'll be spared because you went to the library. But unfortunately, today as we sit here in this room, there is no library public in Ikot, Ekpene. And so many people that would have run to that place for succor from the chaos of the house are missing out. And it's so unfortunate. We are so blessed, people like me, to have someone like Ekpene grasp my hand and say, come, let's take a stroll. Thank you very much, Abumtuni Isu, for this magnanimity. Thank you, Dr. Ekpene, for being there for the younger generation. Thank you very much, professors that are here in this house, for seeing the need to groom humanity.
I have few mementos here to present. And the first one will go to the owner of this place, who has graciously opened the doors and admitted us to come here, so that today will always be remembered that something like this started in Ikot, Ekpene. It's Raffia, Abumtuni Isu, Raffia City Bookclub. Let me also acknowledge the presence of another man who should drive the vision here in this part. Sir Dr. Prince Young. And finally, this one will go to our old but not retired Prof and Bishop, the founder of Redemption FM, Professor Bishop.
Thank you very much, and God bless you. This place very long, the Raffia City Bookclub.
God bless you.